Could you briefly introduce yourself and your role in microdrama industry?
I'm Shantanu Tungare. I'm a filmmaker and a narrative strategist. I'm also a co-founder of Bulb Chamka Studios. We are one of the only studios in the country who have finished more than 100 microdramas. We have in-house local AI pipeline, which we are servicing some of our clients with. Those are all the short dramas where we create volumes of content. But of course, keeping the story intact and of course, keeping the integrity of content intact. So that's what we have been doing. We have seen this shift in the market where we came from the long format, which is all the Bollywood films, all the Netflix and Amazon series. And to then, when most of our clients started getting in touch and asking us if you want to do something in AI, can you do something in AI? So we had to carve out a specific team from our company who are specialized in live action, train them in AI. And it's been 2 years that we have localized all the models and have customized models for each of our clients. So we are one of the only studios who are offering that at scale.
I'm just curious, what are your clients' backgrounds? Are they from like traditional film or commercial? What's their background?
So most of the clients who come in, they don't come as content houses, they come as technology partners. They have an app and they want to fill the app, to be very honest. Our job as content creators is to give them content which audiences can consume, the content which is good. So their background is always technical and they rely heavily on the integrity and storytelling from our side.
You just mentioned you're from traditional filming background, right? What's the difference between traditional filming, like commercial feature film, documentary, and microdrama? What do you see the difference?
The difference I see is definitely the conclusion has to come out really fast when it comes to microdrama. I don't think it is very frivolous storytelling, which people think it is. It is not frivolous storytelling. It just comes to the conclusion really fast. So the microdrama space has a lot of people putting out content which not necessarily is good content, but some of the content dramas, even the content dramas that we do, it is condensed storytelling. All right. Films is longer storytelling. You have so much time to establish a setup, establish a character. Microdrama follows an algorithmic DNA. And that is the major difference. That's what we see.
And you often talk about AI native storytelling. What does that actually mean to you? AI native, what is AI native storytelling?
The main question about AI native storytelling is that's what your question is, right? What exactly is AI native storytelling? Which means,
Yeah.
so AI native storytelling is including AI in all the processes of filming, which means the pre-production, production, and the post-production. In the pre-production, for example, in terms of traditional live action shooting, we have multiple units that are deployed. Like, for example, there are writers deployed, there are storyboard artists deployed, there are people from the production side who go to scout the location, and many other things which are involved in the pre-production that can be countered by using AI and the heavy amount of knowledge that AI throws at us. When you move to the production phase, I don't have to scout for a cameraman, I don't have to scout for an art setting guy, hair, makeup, anything. I just have to directly incorporate some of the diffusion models and start with my image creation. Then I move to the video creation. So this is the AI native usage, which means using AI in every step to cut the noise. Most of the time when I speak about these things is you have to automate the noise when it comes to AI, which means whatever is noisy and takes away from the actual storytelling, you have to automate that, which means dealing with writers, dealing with multiple, storyboard artists, dealing with certain aspects which AI can automate. You humanize the content, which means me and my team will sit and make sure that the script has good amount of storytelling. All right, where AI handles all the noise at the background. So this is what I mean by AI native storytelling.
What about script? Do you use implement AI into script writing?
Yes, of course. We implement AI into script writing. However, we and it depends on what kind of client are we dealing with. If it is a client which requires us to give volume content, we automate that entire scripting format because we already have the characters, we already have the locations. You are aware of microdramas have a longer arc of 100 episodes, 200 episodes. So we automate those scripts using AI. But when it comes to the first 10 episodes, That is when we make sure that me and the writer sit and set a particular tone which the AI can replicate. So that's the process that we follow.
So you also hire writers, right? They can
Yes.
write and develop scripts.
Yes. AI is incorporated at the time of amplifying the writer's voice. We are very much human in the center when it comes to this approach.
I'm very curious about the structure of the whole company of your team. For example, you got writers, right? Maybe directors, and what else? And what's their role and how they work with each other?
Pretty much the role of a production team is automated with AI, but the pre-production where there is a writer, we have concept artist, all of them come together. So I'll structure it properly. In the pre-production, we hire writers, but not as many as we used to initially. In the production, we hire visual artists who basically come up with images and set the tone of the drama. So I hire visual artists. And in terms of editors, which is the post-production, I have not automated the edit part of it until and unless the edit requires it to have a similar content format. So pretty much more of the people from the previous live action people are there. But when it comes to the production where we go live on shooting, those people are not there, which means the light man, the hair makeup settings, none of these people are there.
I'm just curious how many people are in one group because I visit Chinese AI microdrama platforms and production companies before. And normally they would say about 4 to 6 people in a group, they including director and some, I'm not sure how to translate. There are some people generating images for using AI, right? If this image is okay or
Yeah.
not okay. There are about 2 to 3 to do that, and there are post-production people. So about what I heard is about 5 or 4 to 6 people in a group.
But it also depends on how much amount of content they are creating, right? So if we take an example, right now we are producing close to 20 hours of content per month. For that, I have people who are 30 people on board, which means roughly 8 people are writers, the 12 people are visual artists, which means they create images, and the rest of the images to video also, and the rest of the 10 people are editors. So between 30 people, my entire 20 hours of content is taken care of, including
Mm.
the brand work that comes in.
How do you define short drama, and what do you think the essence of short drama?
That's actually a deep question. The essence of short drama is pretty much, I think, is in the first phase of evolution, where right now we are creating content at a really fast pace with dense storytelling. Like I said before, it's happening. But I see it evolving to a part where audience start influencing the characters, influencing the settings and the stories. Sort of like gamification of the entire world. So as content creators, we will come up with good characters, good plot lines, good setups and locations, and audience will basically model the entire characters according to them. So I feel short drama is in the first phase of content creation. I think people would start asking for more investment in their favorite characters and their favorite series.
Let's pause for a second. A lot of people watch short drama and think this doesn't look that hard. But once you actually try to write one yourself, you realize short drama doesn't written like traditional film or TV. It's product thinking, audience expectation, pacing, and applying logic. That's why we created Short Drama Writing 101, a practical course with real case studies, a self-paced online course with real case breakdowns, scene analysis, and access to our Discord creator community.
Like in China, actually, the audience quite accepted those AI generated microdramas. Some audience, not every one of them, but there are others still. A lot of people prefer real actor microdramas. How about the Indian audience? What's your observation?
Indian audience have started to adopt it really well. The initial point of resistance was the fact that AI was not giving out the expressions that the audience were used to when it comes to live action. But right now, with the models improving, the audience couldn't care less. Like we have been creating AI dramas, and the expressions and everything have become so subtle that audience are not invested in what technology is used to create a microdrama, but they are more invested in the story. So people have started adopting to AI content really well.
Is it applied to both male and female audience, or you find out maybe males are more accept those kind of formats?
I won't have that data at this stage, but purely based on my instinct, if I have to say what I'm observing based on my interaction in the market, the females have adopted to the drama aspect of AI content creation really well, while male is a bit more forgiving when it comes to content. So anything to do with AI, funny videos to random AI slop is getting consumed by the males. This is but purely my limited circle that I travel around and I see what people are reacting to. So to summarize, I see males being very forgiving towards AI micro expressions and everything and random content getting thrown at, while the females want more depth of the content, which this micro drama is sort of taking care of.
How long will you take, let's say, if you produce a 40 episode, around 50 minutes microdrama, how long will you take when you receive a full script?
When we receive a full script, we take 2 weeks at least to study the script as well as study the partners whom we work with, because many of the platforms require their way of working. After the two scripts are done, and if the case becomes ideal, we deliver this kind of a content. 40 minutes you mentioned, right?
40, let's say.
40, we finish that in 20 days.
You currently building ancient Indian billionaires and AI-driven storytelling universe rooted in India, mythology, and civilization. I'm very curious about that. Why do you choose mythology as a foundation for AI storytelling?
I mean, to be very honest, as a Chinese person, I'm assuming you're from China, right? You're from
Yeah.
China, correct? As a Chinese person, you understand that you have such a rich civilizational history. Similar to yourself, India has a rich civilizational history. So of the text has decoded that information in visual language. All right. That visual language, when it gets decoded by regular filmmaking tools, it either takes 10 years or like it increases the timeline, or it either is not translated in a very aesthetic way. What I realized when I started digging deep into my civilizational stories, I realized that AI is able to map out the visuals with exact minute details what I wanted. So what I realized is, this is me sitting in Mumbai trying to go through the ancient texts and understanding, oh, this is how that visual would have looked like. Imagine those really grassroots stories from the smaller villages when they start coming out without any production issues. Like, for example, if I go very deep inside a village in India, that person has access to the same AI tools I have access to. If that person decodes the civilizational stories he is or she going through, imagine the rich knowledge I would get exposed to. Imagine the rich entertainment I would get exposed to. So I feel AI is a great leveler when it comes to civilizational storytelling, which helps me retain my identity as a person from India. All right. Uh, I have recently been playing that game Black Myth Wukong, which came in, and it is one of the best games I have played with amazing storytelling. In fact, the character is, of course, a Chinese god, if I'm not wrong. Monkey King is very similar to Hanuman, who is in our culture. But now what has happened is me and you can have that conversation that, hey, Maggie, you have a character called as Monkey King. I also have a character called as Hanuman. That's what I'm saying. That such stories, if they are spent, I don't have to spend now 10 years to tell really ancient stories. I can tell it instantaneously with AI. That is what excited me. So if I have to say it, I have written something down, more or less, like it's like I think future, like it belongs to this is one line which I was wanting to speak about. Like we are moving from content consumption to content ecosystems. Like earlier, audience watched content, now audience participate in narrative loops. Uh, so that is what it is at this stage.
I just been to LA vertical drama market and some people are discussing about AI. So I often heard a word called democratize. You only have receive a film training or
Yeah.
maybe a master degree or whatever degree to maybe participate in a film, not maybe director. You can come kind of like be assistant and be in this film industry for years, but somehow AI can democratize and even help, as you said, a creative guy in a village, an Indian village, that to create his or her own story using AI.
Absolutely. Initially, also, all the tools of filmmaking were democratized. You have the Red camera available for everyone. You have the RE Alexas available for everyone. IMAX available for everyone. What AI has done is democratize the knowledge of filmmaking. And initially, I had to, like you said, I had to assist many directors, and who knows when will I get a chance to make my own film. AI has democratized the tools and the knowledge, which is like the perfect phase for us to get amazing stories from surprising places.
So back to the mythology, are you trying to build stories just based on the mythology you have, or building some, creating some new stories?
No, I'm creating new stories constantly, honestly. But the mythology that I belong to is so vast that I have to spend a lot of time in researching so that I don't give out some or I don't fall into the trap of, creating something really fast because AI will do anything what I say very fast. So I spend a lot of time in researching if I'm doing the right thing or if this is the right story or if there is no hidden narrative behind it. So I have to do a lot of that and then come up with storytelling. So of course, I spend 50% of my time doing this, but the other 50% I'm looking at global stories because we are in the end all global citizens any which ways. We want to understand each other. So I'm strengthening my identity also, but at the same point of time, trying to be a global citizen. So me and you can have a conversation.
Question about globalization. That's the next question. Do you think the future of AI storytelling will become more localized, globalized, or more culturally localized?
I hope it does become culturally localized because what I have always seen that more local the story, the more it travels throughout the globe. When I say that, basic storytelling and the relationships remain the same, right? We all have the same relationship, like our father, mothers, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. The dynamics between all the stories remains the same. It's just the facade. Maybe it's based in China, maybe it's based in India or US. The facade changes. So I hope it becomes more local. But I'm no one to say that right now. My hope is for it to become more local.
Hope your mythology story can be, it is local and also could be globalized.
Yeah, it is sort of the structure that I'm using for my ancient Indian billionaires is mythic futurism, where I'm using all the knowledge from ancient India. But the facade of it is very similar to what you must have seen in a movie like a Dune or a movie like a Star Wars or an Avatar. Because you're familiar with that facade, I can tell my story at the core of it with the facade you're familiar with. So that is what I'm following. The theme is mythic futurism, like I said.
What do you think the future of content consumption in the AI era?
Like I said before, we are moving into from content consumption to content ecosystems. Like earlier, audiences are watching content right now, but audience will want to start participating in the narrative loops, like I said before, because too much of passive consumption, I don't think would cut it out. I think audience is getting used to speaking to AI, so they would want to start speaking to the content that they are consuming. I think the future is moving towards there. You should see some of the content that I have been doing. Like for example, for the sessions that I take, I sometimes come up with concepts like I take a Harry Potter and then I fuse it with Indian mythology. Like I did Harry Potter and Secrets of Nalanda University, which was an ancient university in India, which was burned out. So I took the characters, and built that Harry Potter in Nalanda University, and it flew over the internet like crazy. Right now, we are building an entire series with that particular studio. You should definitely check that out. So I feel when audience will localize the stories and these cultural icons, they'll start wanting to localize them for their culture and their storytelling. I don't have to consume Iron Man or because Iron Man is based in the US. I would probably have an Iron Man based in India because I will recognize him more. So that sort of a thing I think will happen in the future. But that's just a speculation.
What do you think of these AI copyrights? Because in China, we do have those issues that some production companies steal some ordinary people's faces when they post online, and they steal their face and use it in a microdrama. Do you see this, and how do you see this issue?
Yeah, I see this issue to be happening. To be very honest, we are lucky in my company that we have a live action unit who is doing microdramas and films on a regular basis. We counter this particular problem because I've realized that we don't know what the diffusion model is creating a character is based on someone or not. So what we do in our company is we have a roster of actors who are already shooting with us. We take their faces and put them in the AI microdramas. That way, we pay the artist also. The artist also. I mean, our client is also happy that we already have taken a permission, and the artist gets nice amount of screen time. So that is something how we have solved this copyright problem, which definitely is a problem.
Yeah, yeah, that's smart because we already have this issue, and those people actually sue those production company
Yeah, of
and sue
course,
them
of
for
course.
stealing their image, which is completely wrong. Do you have anything else you want to share?
I mean, I'm just always like soaking myself in content. What I've realized is most of my time goes not in consuming media. Most of my time goes in reading and figuring out and researching using AI, all the content that I've been doing. So it's a very interesting time. And I feel that micro dramas is going to be the new future because we are all familiar with reels. We are all familiar with that vertical format. And I don't think that format is going anywhere. And I'm really hopeful for the future.